My name is Shakrish, and this is my project for the Kaggle 5-day AI agent intensive course with Google. I have built an automated IPO research agent designed to analysis upcoming open and closed IPOs application. Let's start let's start how the agent works. Here at everyday 9 a.m. Uh, Here every day at 9 a.m. my agent wakes up and start the process. The first process is it does is it starts the web scraping. Here in the trigger scraping, it uses two different modules. One is BS4 library. One is BS4 library and another is Gemini API. The BS4 Beautiful Soup library strips away the HTML content, HTML part of the scrap data, and the Gemini API scraps the data from the internet. So with the help of this both, the data is scrapped from the internet, and then it later with the help of Gemini API it is stored in the Google Sheet. But the code doesn't take the Google Sheet data as an input. So we convert that Google Sheet data into JSON type with the help of sheet.io portal, which converts the Google Sheet data, tabular data, into the JSON file, which will later becomes the input in our code. Here the delay part comes to the picture because the server which the backend server which I use is on render, which takes at least 60 to 75 seconds to wakes up. If it's stops working, it takes 60 to 75 seconds to wake up, and it wakes up only for 50 seconds in the inactive mode. That's why this delay 2 minutes is only for that to make the server wake up and ready for the use. Here the send request takes that in JSON input into the code, processes it, and makes a output with the help of colorful CSS and HTML way. And also this process, at the step for this process, it also calculates the output that whether you should apply for the IPO or you should avoid that IPO on the basis of GMP and all that data. And then later it sends that email into your registered email ID. Here I have used this email ID. This is how the agent worked. Just a second. Here is the code of that where I have used this. You can see that here the API which I have used. This is the setup of the API confirmation, which tool I use through API, title title of the app. This is the helper function. This type here is this function strips that HTML and CSS part from the scrap data. Here, the URL gives that the scraping of the data which I have taken in this project, is scraped from the IPOWatch.in website. Through this website, Gemini API, and this BS4 just a second, this BS4 Beautiful Soup library, BS4 with the help of both Gemini API and BS4 scraps the data and makes able to see in the tabular and then in the JSON form. Here is all the data. Here is the prompt which goes to the Gemini, which later converts the thing into tabular and JSON form. This is the confirmation, and for the clarity and the readiness of the data, that no TBA matlab to be announced, almost when it is really to be announced or not announced details, it only shows there only TBA. But when it has the real data, it always shows real data. That's why for the confirmation, and what the confirmation part, and the database didn't look messy. That's why this function is used here, which at the end makes sure that the database has max to max real data, real values of the scrap data, and it later adds it to the Google Sheet, like this here. It also checks the duplicates. If the same name company already has in the database, it simply ignores that to update, and only updates TBA in that row. Here this function applies whether we should apply watch or avoid to apply for the IPO. The apply means the IPO must confirms that it will gain you at least 15% profit from apply after the listing part. Avoid means there is high risk that it will 90 it will high risk that it will list below 5% after the listing at the time of listing. And watch means the data is not there here. That's why watch part is there. And close matlab application is closed now. Estimated listing is the gray market premium and the highest price of that. According to that, estimated list is given to. Matlab means minimum value, listing value, and gray market premium. Highest or minimum gray market premium. The addition of both gives the estimated listing range of the appropriate IPO. This makes the HTML and CSS part of our agent, of our output through email. You can see this whole output, with the help of this. You can see whole output as a more attractive way through HTML and CSS part. This is for the URLs APIs, which is helpful here, like this here, that slash sheet slash report here. This is how it worked, and here is the output of it. Here is the Misho, the listing part. Yeah, here it is. We don't have the appropriate value, that's why watch is here. Watch is written here. But as we have the appropriate values here, price band and the estimated listing part, we have a green signal that you can apply in this IPOs. The part when we don't have the appropriate values, we give the output as watch that IPO and wait for the appropriate details. Here is the purple infocom that this details is not appropriate for for the details, and the according to the code, these details, wait a second, according to this condition, the details and the percentage of returns from this data comes out which doesn't make sense to apply in this IPO. That's why avoid is written here. Here is the here this all IPOs are now are in the upcoming mode. That's why the TBS to be announced data is used. Here is the close part. This these IPOs are closed now. That's why the close part is written here. This is how my project. Just a second. This is the database. Here, this all the TBA part is in the upcoming mode. This is closed and these are the opens. In this is the open details of the IPO and scrap data from the Gemini part. This is output and this is the code. This is how this IPO analyst agent works. The main thing it uses is the BS4 library and the Gemini API to make the real world data to take the real world data from the browser internet to this project. Thank you.